Tonight we're looking at TikToks that will leave you in complete shock.
In 1848, Phineas Gage was working on a railroad in Vermont when his life changed in a split second. He was packing explosives into rock when a spark ignited, and a 6-foot metal rod shot straight through his skull. It entered just below his cheek and blasted out the top of his head.
Welcome back, guys. Thank you to all the channel members for support. It says around 70% of you guys are not subscribed, so make sure to smash that subscribe button. If you guys could help me run up the numbers and the algorithm by liking the video, that would be much appreciated. Also, big shout outs to Find J. He said, I'm new here and you 100% earned my subscription. Keep making these videos, bro. For that, he gets 3 big let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
A flesh-eating parasite has been detected here in the US for the first time. It's really gross looking too, isn't it? This is the New World screwworm, and it was detected in a person in Maryland who had just returned from El Salvador. There is currently an outbreak in that country. The screwworm is a parasite that eats cattle and other warm-blooded animals alive. The case was confirmed by the CDC in early August, but there is a little bit of good news to this. The risk to the public is very low.
Morbid Facts, Part 713. In 2023, longtime Mr. Beast co-star Chris Tyson realized he was actually a woman and started hormone therapy, a move that coincided with the collapse of his marriage and leaving behind his young son and wife. Just a year later, Tyson's life spiraled further when allegations surfaced that he had exchanged inappropriate messages with someone as young as 13, accusations that spread across the internet like wildfire. He stepped away from the Mr. Beast brand, apologized publicly, and stepped away from social media as headlines branded him as a predator. Mr. Beast himself also distanced from his former friend and launched an independent investigation. By late 2024, a law firm concluded the claims were baseless, but Tyson's reputation was already destroyed. He's now remembered much less for a decade of YouTube success with Mr. Beast, and more for transition controversy, family upheaval, and a fake scandal that essentially ended his career. As of now, there's no confirmed word that Chris Tyson will be rejoining Mr. Beast anytime soon.
In 1848, Phineas Gage was working on a railroad in Vermont when his life changed in a split second. He was packing explosives into rock when a spark ignited, and a 6-foot metal rod shot straight through his skull. It entered just below his cheek and blasted out the top of his head, taking a chunk of his brain with it. But somehow, he didn't die. Gage stood up, spoke to people, and even rode to the hospital in a cart, conscious the entire time. His physical recovery was remarkable, but something was wrong. His memory stayed sharp. He could still speak, but his personality was gone. He became impulsive and aggressive, completely unrecognizable to his friends and family. Doctors at the time had never seen anything like it. Before Gage, most people thought the brain was just for thinking and moving. But his injury proved it controlled much more. His case was the first real clue that the frontal lobe shaped emotions, decision-making, and self-control. That iron rod didn't just nearly kill him. It opened the door to understanding how the brain shapes who we are.
Did you know that in the United States a child was once born with DNA that wasn't human? This happened in rural Kansas in March 2015. A baby boy was born with completely black eyes, no iris. His body temperature was 2 degrees below normal, and he almost never cried. The mother said her son never blinked and watched her as if he understood every word. Local doctors ran tests, but the results were so strange that a DNA sample was sent to a laboratory in Bern, Switzerland. The report revealed something disturbing: 17 unknown genetic markers, sequences that did not match any other living being ever cataloged on Earth. The report never officially reached the hospital. Instead, 2 men with badges from a federal agency appeared, demanding exams, computers, and silence. Witnesses say that same night, strange black vehicles were seen circling the small town. In November 2017, the entire family disappeared without a trace. The house was found empty, no furniture, no documents. On the floor, only a geometric symbol drawn in charcoal remained. Neighbors swear that days before the disappearance, they heard piercing sounds coming from inside the house. The case was filed as voluntary abandonment, but independent investigators insist that child was not fully human. It was a hybrid, part of us and part of something that should not be here.
Bro, this student's life was almost ruined simply because he brought an umbrella to college. You see, over the weekend, panic broke out at the University of South Carolina after an active shooter alert was sent out telling everyone to evacuate, barricade, and defend themselves. Turns out though, there was never a real shooter, it was just 2 prank calls. But in all of the chaos and people freaking out, multiple people took a video of this guy who was just minding his own business, walking along with an umbrella, and people thought that what he was holding was a gun, and that he was the shooter that they were being alerted about. To make matters worse, they posted this on social media and it went viral, to the point where it was even reshared by Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who described his appearance to her 500,000 followers. Now, these images were never confirmed or shared by officials, yet for a few hours, this poor brother became a school shooter online. I mean, can you just imagine if someone decided to take matters into their own hands after seeing this? That will become the deadliest umbrella in history. Honestly, bro deserves an official apology.
Nah, he's right. Imagine if someone was just like, oh yeah, that's a shooter, and then accidentally hurt him. That would be crazy, man.
If you jump from a 50-story building, you might think firing a shotgun at the last moment could save you. That's because a shotgun creates massive recoil, lowering the speed of your fall. But you would need a shotgun the size of a car to generate enough recoil to slow you down. However, such powerful recoil would likely shatter every bone in your body and rip your arms from your shoulders, meaning you would die before you ever hit the ground. A soldier would glue shards of broken glass to their helmets before going into battle during World War II. They did this because the glass reflected the gunfire and lights, making it look like dozens of flashing bayonets. This confused the enemy, was impossible to aim at, and made them believe they were facing a much larger force. A British scientist placed thousands of needles laced with poison inside a bomb during World War II. These needles were hollow and filled with a nerve agent, and when the bomb exploded, thousands of them scattered everywhere, piercing the skin and injecting the poison into the bloodstream. The damage was minor, but because of the poison, the victims would die within an hour. But this bomb was so expensive that the project never really took off.
This right here is Velocicoaster. Some shit you probably would never catch me on. If you a fan of riding in the front row, try the motherfucking back row. Count me out. Now I want you to get an understanding for this motherfucker, that the whiplash that you're gonna receive in that back row, ooh wait. If you got on there and your body was feeling good, when you get off, you gonna be sold in a motherfucker. Everyone knows riding in the front of the back row give you more bang for your buck. Or should I say more bang for your back. Count me out. But not only that, this motherfucker got a little speed to it. So if you looking for an adrenaline rush, look no further. But for me, I'll stay on land. Count me out. Now I'm sure it's a lot of you motherfuckers out there that rode this motherfucker before. And if you did, was you in the front of the back row? How did your body feel when you got off this motherfucker? As always, count me out.
The commander injected stimulant into the cigarette and gave it to the new recruit. He did this because the newly recruited soldiers were so afraid. So when they smoke the cigarette, they'll become fearless monster.
Welcome to Chuck E. Cheese. Are you ready to have fun? I want to watch. Let's go play. I have all kinds of games you can play. We can shoot some hoops or some skee ball. Everyone loves playing with balls, right? Speaking of balls, check out my stinky ball pit. It's nice and cozy in here. Won't you come in with me? Let's go in the sky tubes. It might smell like farts, but it's still the coolest. Come on, let's go. I'm gonna get you. Come here. I sure am hungry. Let's have some pizza. I got a special room just for me and you. Yay! It's time for the show. Come sit on my lap. We can watch it together. Whew, I'm beat. I had such a good time today. Pick out a toy for the road. See you next time.
If I was a kid and I saw that, I would never go to Chuck E. Cheese ever again.
Craziest thing about all these kids being chronically online is that the internet is literally changing their accents over time. For example, a 2020 study of British children showed that kids were increasingly developing a YouTube accent from watching American-made YouTube videos during the pandemic. So they would actually pronounce words like letter instead of letter, taking on the American-sounding T and R pronunciations because that's what they were hearing on Cocomelon or whatever. And interestingly, we're seeing the same effect happen with American children who watch a lot of Peppa Pig. We have parents out there reporting that their kids are saying stuff like, how clever clever instead of how clever. And this isn't new. Accents have always been fluid because we're socially conditioned to mimic those around us.
In this cabinet meeting, Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged, and the world wants your reaction, sir.
Well, I wish him a lot of luck.
Thank you.
I think I think he's a great player. I think he's a great guy, and I think that she's a terrific person. So I wish them a lot of luck.
He did not even know what to say about that. He just said like a baseline response. He's a great person. He's a great person. I'm sure they'll be happy.
She hid inside her father's fuel truck. Her father was a truck driver, moving fuel from one border to another. That day, while he was about to leave, his daughter quietly slipped inside the empty fuel tank. She thought it would be a free ride, but the tank had just been cleaned with industrial chemicals. As the truck moved under the hot sun, the fumes began filling the tiny space. She tried to hold her breath, but each second pulled poison deeper into her lungs, and then hours later, her ride silently took her life.
A woman sent her 4-year-old son into a claw machine when she saw that it was filled with iPhones. However, after successfully entering the machine, the door to the entrance was sealed shut of oxygen. Without realizing, the kid continued to grab the iPhones and drop them down the hole when he suddenly began to get really tired. The mother, who was focused on not getting caught, didn't notice what was happening behind her back. When she eventually glanced over, she saw her son, who was passed out in the machine. And when she finally called for help, it was too late as the kid had unfortunately suffocated.
She slipped between two massive boulders as she tried to reach her dropped phone, and she got stuck upside down in the 10-foot deep crevice. Her friends spent an hour trying to get her out, but nothing worked, and finally, rescuers arrived. They used a pulley to move the 1,000-pound boulder that was trapping her, and after 6 more hours, she was finally freed, with only a few scratches to show for it. If you jumped off the International Space Station, you might think you could just skydive down to Earth. But the planet's gravitational pull means you would actually get stuck in orbit for years. And since you would be traveling at thousands of miles per hour, even the tiniest space rock would pierce you like a bullet. Now, if you somehow managed to dodge the debris, you would eventually get pulled back down to Earth. But as you re-entered the atmosphere, the air resistance would cause you to burn up, killing you long before you actually hit the ground.
This private detective shares with us how he caught his client's wife cheating on him, and it's hilarious.
Gentleman calls me up, mid-40s gentleman, Rancho Cucamonga, and that's where I live in Southern Cal now in the Rancho Cucamonga area. He, says, I think my wife's cheating on me, so I'm taking the intake. And again, this is my second case, so I'm kind of, okay, why do you think she's cheating? And, well, she's been going away on these weekend trips with her girlfriends every other weekend. And so I said, so one thing led to another. He goes, this is a Thursday. And he goes, she's leaving tomorrow Friday. He goes, I know what hotel she's going to be at because she used our credit card and she booked the room. So I was like, okay. So, and she gets off work at such time. So I loosely follow her out there. I take the case. I loosely follow her out there to the hotel. She checks in. When I say loosely, I didn't have to be right behind her. I kind of knew where the destination was going to be. So I had that. But we were on the same shit of music. So follow her out to the hotel. She checks in. I'm hanging out in the lobby area, not doing too much. And I said, she's probably just doing like a spa weekend with the girls or something like that. And she's dressed like business casual, secretary, school teacher-ish. And I said, yeah. I said, this dude, he's just, and sure enough, she comes out about 20 minutes later, pretty, I guess we'll go, and provocative in nature, slutty-ish, and I said, oh shit, maybe it is going down. So she valet parked, I self-parked, and I learned that. I was like, this way I don't have to wait for my car, and so I waited for her, followed her, and it was about 10 minutes from the location of the hotel to which come to find out, it was a swing club. Yeah. And I learned a lot about protocol on that day with the swing club and how they function. So again, I loosely follow. Well, I was following her actually. I was doing pretty tight surveillance because I didn't know where she was going at that point. So it was about 10 minutes away, and it was an industrial area. I'm going to fast forward because I get to the location, and she goes up in an elevator, and I see what floor she gets off. So I didn't follow her up in the elevator. I see what floor she gets off, and it's kind of like this studio here where you come up and you get off the elevator, and it's like. Doors are locked, doors are open. So the one door that's open, I hear the music, so I went towards that. I hear the music going, and so I opened up the door, and it's a pretty big-sized dude wearing a suit that probably hasn't fit him since his bar mitzvah. And I said to him, I says, hey, I'm here for the party. He goes, yeah, what's your code? I didn't know. So at that time, again, I'm a retired federal agent. I had some cash on me, and I pull out my wallet, and I says, "Is this good enough for a code?" And sure enough, that was good enough for a code for the night. So I gave him some cash. Get into this party. I'm not really fitting exactly because it seemed like a lot of people knew each other. So I kind of go to the bar. This is where I learned about the protocol. So I was like, all right, everybody's drinking. Let me grab a drink. So I said, let me get vodka and cranberry, a just generic drink. And they were like, well, which one's your vodka? And I was like, again, I'm going to kind of fast forward. I was like, what do you mean? I didn't know you bring your own bottle or something like that. And I was like, oh. And then I was like, that Grey Goose. So that happened to be my bottle. I guess I jacked someone's Grey Goose. So had a drink there, and I guess they pour the cranberry juice or whatever. So blah, 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 blah. Again, initially I was like, this guy, might be, fabricating this, or it's all in his head. And then fast forward within 20 minutes later, 2 guys simultaneously. That's all I got to say. I'm going to leave it at that. I got all my evidence probably within 2 hours. I was paid for the whole weekend. Again, fast forward to Monday, I had glasses on that record. So let me just back up a little bit. So I did some research about this club. I'm like, this is during COVID. Nobody's wearing masks. I didn't even see too much like protection, okay? Which was really weird to me. Really, really weird to me. But I come to find out this was an exclusive upscale, like swingers kind of community. That code, after I found out, I guess you pay your money via that way, whether it's some dark webs type of stuff, and then you have to upload your current STD test. So I guess they were pretty cautious. But obviously, I didn't partake. I was there professionally in a business manner, and but I could have violated the integrity of that whole process. That's my point, with that whole, checking. But that's kind of irrelevant, but it tripped me out. So now we fast forward Monday, download all the information, all the evidence, show the dude. And I said, disclaimer before that. I said, you sure you're going to want to see what I'm going to show you? And he agreed. All I do is I bring evidence to people. What you do with it is what you do with it. And as he saw the visualization of what I was able to record, he didn't take it to, basically he was like, those are the lips that she kisses my kids with. And I was just like, I don't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. As a grown man, like I'm not into, I'm not a counselor dude. You know what I'm saying? Like I just got the evidence. So
I'm not gonna lie, that was one of the wildest videos I've ever seen. Previously, there's like a previous video I made, and I was like, yo, that is the wildest video I've ever seen. But honestly, this might top that.
Remember when this rapper shot this other rapper? Cause I do. So this rapper goes by the name Megan Thee Stallion. And Megan is 25 when this story starts, and she's a very popular hip-hop artist. And Megan really seems to like her friend, this guy, Tory Lanez. And Tory Lanez is also a hip-hop artist, and apparently he and Megan have been smashing recently. But one night in 2020, Megan goes to this pool party with some friends. And so everyone is there, they're having a good time, they're all drinking, and eventually Megan gets into the car to go home, and she gets into the car with a few other people, including Tory Lanez. And so they're driving home from the party, and there's 4 people in this SUV, and 3 of them get into this big argument. Allegedly because Tory has not only been smashing with Megan, but he had also been smashing with another woman in the car at some point. And so he had been smashing with both women. And this argument that they're having gets so bad that Megan asks the driver to pull over. And so they pull over, and the fighting continues, until finally Megan has had enough. And so she gets out of the car, and she starts walking away. And that is when she hears Tory yelling from the SUV, and he's holding a pistol, and he's yelling, "Dance, bitch!" And then blam, blam, he starts shooting down at the ground. And boom, Megan gets hit. Not in one foot, but in both feet. And so Megan drops to the ground, and she starts crawling away. And pretty quickly, I guess Tory realizes how badly he just screwed up, and he starts apologizing profusely and saying, "I'm so sorry, please don't tell anyone." And he also says, "I'll give you guys $1 million if you promise not to say anything." Meanwhile, a neighbor sees some of this go down through his bedroom window, and he immediately calls the police. And so Tory gets Megan back into the car, and they all drive off together. But it's not long before police find them and they pull them over. And the officers have everyone get out of the car one by one, and they all lay on the ground. And you can see some footage here. You can see there's someone lying on the ground, and there's Megan in her bikini because, you know, they all just came from the pool party. Now, Megan is fully freaked out by this, including by how many police are surrounding them. Plus, there's a gun in the car, and she thinks if police know that Tory shot her, then they might perceive him as a violent threat and shoot him. And I assume she still likes him, and she doesn't want that for him. And also, she obviously just doesn't seem to trust the police, whatever her reasons may be. So when the officers detain her, they're like, "Why are your feet bleeding?" And Megan decides to lie, like, I stepped on some broken glass." Then police search the SUV they were in, and they find Tory's pew-pew, and bam, they arrest him for carrying a concealed firearm. Here's his mugshot. Meanwhile, police take Megan straight to the hospital because she's wounded. And while she's there, the medical staff do an x-ray on her feet. And they're like, "Why are there bullet fragments in your feet?" And so now Megan is sort of forced to tell police the truth. That same night, Tory, who is now in jail, he calls up his friend, the other woman who was in the car in the argument, because Tory needs help getting bailed out. But he also uses this as an opportunity to kind of apologize.
"I just want you to know, bro, I was just so f***ing drunk, I didn't even know what the f*** was going on, bro. I didn't even know what the f*** was going on."
Now, these guys are very well-known rappers, so at this point, the news media is all over this story, and they're reporting on it, but no one knows what to make of it because Megan said she cut her foot on some glass. But then, shit gets even more out of control for them. Because of course, the internet, being ever so skeptical about everything, they don't buy Megan's story at all. I mean, Tory is in jail, so they know something is up. And so they start putting pressure on her to stop lying. And then a few days later, Megan kind of comes clean in an Instagram post saying, "On Sunday morning, I suffered gunshot wounds as a result of a crime that was committed against me and done with the intention to physically harm me." So she tells the truth about being shot, but she still must care about Tory a lot because she still doesn't mention that it was him who shot her. However, fans are starting to piece it all together, and the internet does what it does best. It makes a total mockery out of the situation, and Megan starts to get a lot of ridicule from people because they think she's lying. And so finally, Megan decides to set the record straight. She goes on Instagram Live and she outright names Tory as the man who shot her.
"I'm not gonna let y'all keep playing in my face, and I'm not gonna let this nigga keep playing in my face either. So, since y'all hoes so worried about it, yes, this nigga Tory shot me. You shot me. And you got your publicists and your people going to these blogs lying and shit.
Now, Tori, who I guess is out on bail now, he sees this post and he's now catching a lot of heat, and he feels like he has to get on Instagram himself and respond, and he basically says Megan's a liar.
She knows what happened, I know what happened, and we know that what you're saying and what the alleged things and the alleged accusations of my name is are not true. It's falsified information, it's false information, and it's not accurate information.
Now, from here, Megan and Tori take turns jabbing at one another. Tori releases a diss track where the lyrics say, "How the fuck you get shot in your foot and you don't hit no bones or tendons?" While Megan responds with a sign behind her during her SNL performance that reads, "Protect Black Women." Then she releases her own diss track where she says, "Imagine lying about shooting a real bitch." Now, in the middle of all this, the Los Angeles District Attorney officially presses charges against Tori for shooting Megan, while Megan goes on to do some interviews about it. And in one particular CBS interview, she is asked if she and Tori were smashing.
Did you have an intimate relationship with him?
Like sexual?
Yeah. Megan, did you have a sexual relationship with Tory Lanez? Yes, that's my question.
I didn't have a sexual relationship with Tori.
Now, you already know she and Tori actually were smashing in the past, but why she chose to lie about it in this interview is unclear. Maybe she's embarrassed, maybe it's none of our business, but she did lie in the interview. She later admitted that she lied, by the way. I'm not just like randomly calling her a liar. This is her words, what she admitted to. But anyway, that is where this guy comes in. Fellow rapper 50 Cent. And so 50 Cent, he's watching this interview and he doesn't believe her when she says she didn't sleep with Tory Lanez. So I guess from there, since she lied about that, he assumes she lied about all of it, like the shooting and everything. And so he starts posting about it on Instagram. Like he posts like this meme of her morphing into Juicy Smollett. And from here, the attacks on her only get worse. Like other rappers like Chris Brown and Kanye and Drake are all backing Tori. And DaBaby and 21 Savage and Drake, they all reference the Megan Tori incident in their lyrics. Drake raps about it in one of his songs. He says, "This bitch lie about getting shot, but she's still a stallion." Anyway, to this day, a lot of people think Tori didn't actually really shoot her, which he still claims that he never did. Regardless, in 2022, Tori finally goes to trial and he's found guilty and he gets sentenced to 10 years in prison.
Yo, I remember that story and like everyone was just like so big in the air about it. I mean, realistically, I don't know if he did it. Maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but I mean, it doesn't affect my life, so I really don't care like that for real.
Did you know that in California, in the middle of a police chase, a driver stopped to get gas and still managed to escape? It all happened in Los Angeles. A man driving a blue Infiniti, allegedly stolen, was being chased by police at high speed. The car pushed past 100 miles per hour, cutting through freeways and city streets. But then, he simply stopped. He pulled into a Shell station on Wilshire, turned toward the pump, and began fueling up as if it were just another Sunday afternoon. He even took off his shirt to cover his face while pumping gas. As news helicopters recorded everything from above, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Until suddenly, he yanked the nozzle, closed the tank, and sped away, continuing the chase. Moments later, he disappeared under an overpass on the I-10, abandoned the car, which flipped and crashed into a pole, and vanished into the shadows of the city. To this day, he remains on the run. Authorities believe he may have been picked up by an accomplice. It was a move straight out of a movie, a fugitive who stops in the middle of a chase, to refuel, and still escapes. The courage of many, but the cold calculation of someone who knows exactly what they're doing.
Bro, even Mr. Beast is now getting involved in the Roger Jackson situation. He just tweeted saying, "If anyone connected to Stuart Smith knows of a way that I can help him, please reach out. If his kid is a fan or I can help with hospital bills, I don't know, but I'll help." We also got the first pictures of Stuart in hospital, which was posted by his brother, who says that he's in stable but critical care. He also said they do not currently have a GoFundMe set up because others have already started setting up fundraisers to pay for his hospital bills. Like this one, for example, which already has received their target of $60,000. As of recording, Raja has not been arrested. However, LAPD officers have filed a report and detectives have been assigned to the case. But what's interesting is that the LAPD say that they were called to the location for an attempted murder, but they later classified the incident as felony battery. Now in California, where this took place, the common sentencing range for felony battery is 2 to 4 years in state prison, a fine of up to $10,000, or probation with up to a year in county jail. Douglas Mallow, the wrestler who pulled Raja off of Steve, has since said that that he places heavy blame on AJ Mana. That's the wrestler who invited Raja to the event and was also heard saying to him,
"You fucking give him his receipt. You remember what a receipt is? Give him that fucking receipt, folks."
Douglas claimed that AJ Mana also had a problem with Stewart and that he used Raja to do his dirty work, and as a result, he ruined 2 people's lives. AJ Mana responded to these claims in a now deleted Instagram story, saying he was in character and speaking the language of wrestling when he told Raja to get his receipts, which many interpreted as encouraging or giving permission to Raja to hit Stewart for real. AJ Mana claimed that this was just a situation that got out of hand due to miscommunication. But what do you guys think? Is there any scenario where the full responsibility is not placed on Raja? Or is Raja's future cooked?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, there's absolutely nothing that validates what he did, so I think his future is genuinely cooked.
He pulled the pin from a live grenade in front of a classroom full of students. You see, the policeman was hosting a safety training lecture explaining how the grenades are activated, but he got so carried away with the explanation that he accidentally pulled the pin while holding a grenade in his hand. Panicked, he released the lever, causing the grenade to blow up, killing himself and injuring several others instantly. The man walked toward the school, carrying a vest full of explosives under his clothes. Students noticed something strange, but they got scared and ran, all except one. Instantly, he walked toward the bomber and grabbed him, making it impossible to enter the school. And panicked, the terrorist pressed the button, setting off the detonator and taking both of their lives. Later, Aziz was awarded the highest honor for bravery, having saved 2,000 students by giving his life. The spy took a pile of bread and filled it with plastic explosives in 1944. Then, dressed as a factory worker, he sneaked it into the Nazi arms depot. He repeated this process again and again until he had 40 kilograms of explosives inside. And when the time came, he connected them to a detonator and left just minutes before blowing up the entire factory.
Yo, that dude must have hated his job. That's crazy. What dedication, though. He did it day after day after day after day until just boom. Absolute legend.
Thank you all for watching.